Let's talk about the waiver wire in fantasy basketball. Who's been added? Who's been dropped? Should they have been added? Should they have been dropped? You know what we're talking about. Michael Bolton does as well.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and my biggest ick in a guy is when he hosts a fantasy basketball podcast. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. You can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Double bang? Yeah, it's a good day for a double bang. Every day is a good day for a double bang, but go on and watch the video, go and listen to the audio. But more importantly now, we are less than 3 weeks away from the NBA trade deadline, Thursday, February the 8th. Live show, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Go and pre-like it. I want to hit 500. And if I've already hit 500 at the time I'm recording this, I want to hit 1,000. So let's go and pre-like it, leave some comments on it, bookmark it as well, so you are ready to go when the trade deadline drops. We're talking waiver wire. Talking about guys who've been added and dropped, and you know how all of that stuff works. So let's start by looking at the must roster players. The guys that I believe are rostered in too few leagues, especially when we're talking short-term value, and they just shouldn't be sitting on the wire. For category leagues, we're going to start off by talking about the guy that we talk about all the time, the rabbit hunter Alex Caruso. What are we waiting for here? Please tell me. Why is this man still only 50% rostered? What are we waiting for? He's just got to be added everywhere. Yes, he might get hurt. Oh well. When he does, you make something of it later. There's just no reason for this. Add him. Easy. Jeremy Sohan. I think we're in that territory now. A bit hesitant with it early on. He obviously struggled playing as a point guard, but now he's not playing as a point guard, and his assists are still really strong. His defensive stats have gone up. His efficiency is he's hitting 37% of his threes all season, but now his 2-point percentage is getting back to what it was as a rookie. He's hitting, I think, 80% of his free throws over the last month. His minutes are up. There's no reason for me that Sohan's on the wire. He should be added. I'm going to put Xavier Tillman on here, the cashier. Now, I know he missed the last game with a knee soreness, which is an issue, absolutely. But I do think that he still should be rostered unless this knee thing keeps him out again. I've got the Duck Luke Kennard on there. No one seems to be taking that role away from him. It's definitely not Zaire Williams, a.k.a. the worst player in the NBA. So Luke Kennard is still worth having. Mason Plumlee, the cockroach. We get another opportunity to see him on Sunday. That game has not happened yet. But we get to see if that 28-minute roll holds or if it drops down. But for now, we just roll with it. And then I don't know if or when Mark Williams is returning this season. I'm going to say it's looking more and more likely that he doesn't return. But, you know, thanks to the brilliance, the insightful nature of the Charlotte Hornets and their injury reporting, we would never know. Because I've got all the time in the world to go and scour local Charlotte radio stations to hear Steve Clifford have a throwaway comment about Mark Williams' back. That's really like all I've got to do in my life. So now that I found that out, I don't know when or if he is coming back. So Big Dick Nick just needs to be rostered. I know he's been out with this ankle problem. That is not a long-term thing. And yeah, the genius Nate Mintz is not a long-term thing either. So Big Dick Nick is a must-roster player. For points leagues, a lot of the names are similar. I do have Tillman still on that list. Again, that is depending on if that knee becomes more of an issue. Jeremy Sohan, Mason Plumlee, the bucket, John Kuminga. We haven't seen the Warriors play for a while. They don't play again, I think, until Wednesday because of all those postponements and the tragedy going on there. They're at a huge crossroads in their season. Kuminga has still maintained value with Draymond back, and he is more valuable in a points league than category league, but he's available still in over 40% of leagues. I've got Jabari Walker on there, and he just missed the cut of those 6 names for category leagues as well. Is Jabari Walker awesome? I wouldn't say he's awesome, but I'd say he's pretty good. And I feel really confident in his minutes at the moment and actually feel better about him as we go on. I've been saying for months that Jabari Walker is going to be a guy that in March you are going to have, and he is going to be a top 100 fantasy player. Well, it's actually just come early because they put him into the starting lineup ahead of Tamani Kamara, and I really think that we just got to grab him. And this does go for categories as well as points, and Jabari looks good. And then I do have the Rabbit Hunter on there as well. Even for points leagues, even though his value is lesser in a points league than it is in a category league, there's just nothing that's really stopping Alex at this point, apart from an injury. Obviously, Levine is out again, and just do it. Like, what's the hold up? What's the hold up? If Alex Caruso is not rostered in your league, here's your call to action. Here's where I get the DB gang to leave a comment on the video. Is Alex Caruso rostered in your league? And tell me the specifics of your league. Points or cats and size. Because he's sitting on Yahoo at 50% at the moment. So I want to know, is he rostered in your league? Alex Caruso, the Rabbit Hunter. One of the best 5 perimeter defenders in the entirety of the NBA. I want to hear from the DB squad, the DB gang. DB gang. I want to hear about Alex Caruso, please. It would do me a great favor. All right, let's talk about some players who I believe...
Get that garbage out of here!
...are droppable. What do I mean by droppable? I think you know what I mean by droppable, but I'm going to tell you what I mean by droppable anyway. Do you have to drop them? Absolutely not. All right, but if they're on your roster and you go, got to activate someone off IR, got to stream in a spot, got to take a swing on somebody. If these guys are sitting there, you go, do I actually need to hold? Is it worth holding? In some cases, the answer will be yes. The higher up the standings you are, the more leeway you have to be able to hold on to players who are underperforming, who are only sort of spike occasionally. If you're in the middle of the pack or towards the bottom, you can't deal with that sort of nonsense. You can't deal with a guy who's like the 140th best player and spikes 1 out of every 7 games. You can't deal with that. You can't really deal with stashing guys for injuries in those situations as well. And even with that first name on the list, old mate Punch Bob, Bobby Portis, last game Giannis was out, he didn't even start anyway. He played 21 minutes off the bench. So is he just only going to play if Brook Lopez is out? Big minutes? That's what it feels like. You don't need to roster Bobby Portis. Of course, you don't need to roster 80% plus rostered legend Russell Westbrook. What on earth are we doing? You don't need to be holding this guy. I thought there was a sliver of an opportunity with Zubats going down, and maybe there still is. Maybe they don't run Plumlee every minute, and they give Tice more of that time, and that enables Westbrook to play. But Westbrook cannot play with a non-shooting center. We have seen this for years and years and literally years. And he plays like 18 minutes a night, and since they reduce his minutes, they're a good team. And when he plays big minutes, they're a bad team. And you are a bad team in category leagues if you roster Russell Westbrook. And I am talking directly to you, big dog. Are you got Russell Westbrook on your team? I'm talking to you. Fight me in the comments. You don't have to actually fight me. But why are we still holding him? Move on. I've got Spencer Dinwiddie on this list, and it is a little controversial. I'll tell you why it's controversial. Because he's played well the last couple of games. Do I trust that at all? No. Have I got a track record of seeing Spencer Dinwiddie be a below average to bad category league player for basically the entirety of his career, apart from a section where he played with a guy that turns Dante Exum into a reasonable player, and that's Luka Doncic? No, he just hasn't been able to do it. He's usually been a low volume threes, low steals, low rebounds, bad percentages player who needs minutes and a lot of usage and doesn't always get that. And I don't know if Ben Simmons is ever coming back, by the way. If you're rostering Ben Simmons, please don't. I don't know if that's going to impact Dinwiddie. Now, it is, again, counterintuitive with the way that Dinwiddie is playing at the moment to drop him. So don't drop him right now. Like, he's playing well and the minutes are up, but I don't really believe that that's going to hold. And if there is a situation where you've got someone great on your waiver wire and he's about to come back and Dinwiddie's your worst player, I wouldn't feel bad about moving on personally. Dennis Schroeder started off the season red hot and I went, wow, did not see any of this coming. This is just ridiculous stuff from Schroeder. Well, I guess I was wrong. And it turns out I was right. And he has fallen off significantly. Yes, trades have impacted that, but now he's not even getting like 28 minutes a night. He's playing like 23, 24 off the bench. Now, this team could still trade players. We're hearing this talk coming out now, they're going to trade Chris Boucher. Oh, that's cool. For what? Because who wants 31-year-old Chris Boucher who has never been able to amount into a good NBA player? Nobody. So I don't know what they're planning on doing, but Bruce Brown, Gary Trent, even Schroeder himself could get moved. But what are you missing out on if you move on from Schroeder? Like, honestly, is he a top 100 player? No. Can I even squint and find a top 100 scenario? I don't think so. So I just don't think that's a necessity to hold on to. Keldon Johnson. He is the horse, but I think that in category leagues, it's only really there for value for him when Wembanyama is out. His minutes aren't high. His usage drops. He doesn't do anything in those other areas. The efficiency can be a real problem, and I just don't think you need to hold on to him, again, if that is your worst player. And the last one on that is Jollibee Jalen Green. Because, let's be fair, he's not very good, and I think they've got players who are significantly better than him coming off the bench, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit of time, but I just don't think you need to hold on to Jalen. If you are desperate for points, sure, but things are trending down for him at the moment in a pretty big hurry, and that is not particularly good. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. 2023, done, in the books. But 2024 is just getting started, and that's where you need to look at what you need to do to bring your business to the next level. Now, the next level might be global domination. It might be, let's expand in our local market, whatever it is. You can't do any of that stuff without staff, and hiring the right staff is key to the growth and the success of business. I know this. I've worked in plenty of different situations where I've been responsible for hiring. And if you get the staff wrong, it's not only just a day-to-day nightmare, but it also just holds back everything you do. With LinkedIn, it's not just another job site. They've got access to over 1 billion different professionals. They stick their job right under their nose and go, look at this. You want to come work for this legendary small business? They go, oh, maybe. And small businesses can attest to this because they say that they get a qualified candidate in under 24 hours, 86% of the time. That is a really high number. So, LinkedIn, the process is intuitive. It helps because you, as a small business owner, you're doing so many different things all around the place. You're doing customer service, front-facing, human resource. You're doing marketing. You're doing business deals. You're doing all that sort of stuff. And hiring needs to be easy. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That is linkedin.com/lockedonnba. And you can post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, so I think that gives me an opportunity to do a second droppable.
Get that garbage out of here!
Because I was only halfway through. Let's do Points League droppable players. Some similar names on here. Dennis Schroeder's up the top there, Bob Portis. And I just included two names here that people are still holding. One is Mark Williams and one is Ben Simmons. The fact that people are holding on to Ben Simmons suggests to me a number of things. And I would say that there is nobody who watches this that has been holding on to Ben Simmons, considering we said that he was a drop from about the 15th of November, I would say. But I get the question still every day. Do I just move on from Simmons and grab Caruso? It's like, bro, thanks for waking up from a 3-month-long coma. Well done. I don't know what's happening here with Simmons. I don't know if he's coming back. But we're also getting to that stage where we're like, well, if you waited this long, why not hold? But I still don't know that he's coming back. Get off. Move off. Mark Williams, it was frustrating for a few weeks. But I think the call on him to be dropped was probably 2 weeks ago. Pretty sure I made it then. Maybe I did it 3 weeks ago. I don't know. But he's not coming back anytime soon. So move on from Mark Williams. And the last name on this list is Onyeka Okongwu. And in category leagues, I'm a little bit more hesitant to drop him because the value is there. But in a points league, even if Capella is traded, low chance. Even if he's traded, Okongwu is not going to blow up as a top 40 player, I don't think. He might be like the 80th best player, 90th in points leagues. Not like in category leagues where he becomes a top 40 guy. So while you're waiting for something that might not happen, a guy that's just not even going to sniff the top 150 in a backup role, I don't think you need to be holding on to Onyeka Okongwu in a points league situation. That will bring us into look at the most added players over the last 48 hours using our advanced metrics at Basketball Monster as well as the Yahoo numbers. The number one player on this list is Marvin Bagley III, and we are going to get so much information today because Bagley's last 2 games were great, and they were without Daniel Gafford with no other center. But today, Daniel Gafford is back from his concussion. So what do? How much does Gafford play alongside Bagley? I thought there was a very interesting quote from Marvin Bagley that's worth mentioning. Someone said to him, I'm going to paraphrase this, like, yeah, how you feel about when you're playing with Daniel Gafford, how are you excited for that opportunity, right? So you go, oh, that's a question where I read and I go, are they going to play them together? Is that what he's insinuating here? Oh no, is what I thought. And Bagley's response was, yeah, look, Gaff's a really good player. I'm really excited to see what we can do as centers. I went, okay. So to me, maybe I'm wrong, but to me, that suggests to me that Bagley has been told you are never playing next to Gafford, and you two are going to run the 48 minutes at center for the Wizards, and that reduces some of that upside. Now, that is maybe a complete misreading from me, but the fact that that wasn't thrown out by the reporter and Bagley put it back out there saying, yeah, I can't wait to see what we do as the centers, was a little bit indicative. We will find out. We will definitely find out today whether that is true and whether they cross over at all. Just something to watch. Anyway, don't drop Bagley until we see what happens today. If he plays 18 minutes and Gafford plays 30, drop him. If they play 24 apiece, I'll tear my hair out, but I will pay attention to see what we need to do. But for now, it is you should have added Bagley as soon as we heard Gafford was out and he was going to start. Easy. And then we just see what happens. The next most added player is Brandon Miller. Now, let's be fair, Brandon Miller has sucked for most of this season, but his last 2 games have been amazing. Is this the new Brandon Miller? Yes, there are obviously players out. In the last game, there was no LaMelo Ball in that one as well. Gordon Hayward might be dead for all I know. Maybe he returns. I don't know. I don't think Miller's going to last as a 12-team league player, but I get it. He's on a hot streak. Go with it. That's totally cool as well. Jabari Walker up 32%. I've already spoken positively and glowingly about him. Do it. Cool. Mason Plumlee on Yahoo, most added player. Makes a lot of sense. Aaron Neesmith, it makes sense 6 weeks ago, but he's now being added in a lot of spots. His value with Bruce Brown gone is a little solidified. Still think that some of it is coming from some unsustainable defensive numbers and shooting numbers, but whatever, he's fine to roster. And then Daniel Tice, the big fella. Vanilla Tice with his big blocks last game. If he's a 20-minute player behind Plummer, I don't really think that he's going to be a must-roster player, but streaming in on a lower volume Sunday totally makes sense.
Get that garbage out of here!
Who's been dropped? Well, you can tell by the old photo of that bloke on the cover there, TJ McConnell. Halliburton's back. McConnell's dropped. Easy decision. The second most dropped player, Greg Jackson the second. GG blew up for that big game and then has just done nothing. His minutes have dropped down. His consistency's not there. His efficiency's out. Look, I still believe that there is an opportunity for him to have some big games moving forward. But if you're not going to give him consistent minutes and consistent shots, then there's absolutely no reason to hold. And we talked about that big game, how he shot like 70% from 3 or whatever it was, and had to play the final 17 minutes of that game, and whether that was going to be realistic moving forward. And the answer is very clearly no, it wasn't. So move on from GG. Isaiah Stewart down 17%. Yeah, because he's just like a fringe 12-team streamer. He's more of a 14-team league guy. He had that one absolute monster when he returned from injuries. Came back. The second game was shit, and then he got hurt again. So yeah, move on. Sadiq Bey, down 3,000. Now, there's a couple of things to talk about here with Sadiq. Sadiq Bey could have been dropped a few weeks ago very comfortably. But people react very, very quickly to one little thing happening. Now, he was, not by all accounts, by any metric, shitful yesterday. What was he, 0 of 12? He is not good at all. And you know me, captain of the Sadiq Bey is highly overrated train. I've been on that for years. But it's just interesting to me that it just takes him to have one game where it's historically 0 of 12 shooting. Everyone goes, oh, I'm out now. Like, come on. We could have been out on this weeks ago. But people move on. People overreact very quickly to one game. We know this. Xavier Tillman dropped in a lot of spots. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I get it. You probably need to open up a roster spot to stream in somebody today, but I do not agree. And then Kelly Oubre down 2,500. Yeah, look, fine. He's obviously at this point not a 12-team category league player. He's probably not even a 12-team points league guy at the moment, with the way that he is struggling to do anything that's of any real use to most fantasy teams. So yeah, in most spots, I think you can move on from Kelly Oubre, which is pretty weird considering the opportunity he's given. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. In 2023, it's New Year's done, dusted, and we all love in our revelry to make exciting proclamations. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to take my job to the next level. Or whatever it is you want to say, right? But subconsciously, you can be putting undue internal pressure on yourself. Because if those things fail, what happens? This is where therapy can really come in. You can help set yourself realistic goals. You can help manage your expectations and what to do if you don't actually hit those expectations. Because so much in life these days, as I wax poetically, is about like highs and lows. It's about short attention span. Like, let's get a quick dopamine rush and it falls off. And that can't be good. Like, it's all about this slow, positive growth. And that's where therapy can really help. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, you can give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a therapist who aligns with your needs and your goals. But if that doesn't work out, you can just switch to a new therapist at no charge. This is something that, again, isn't known by, I didn't know this. This is known by everybody. Because if you just don't click with your therapist, you're going to get nothing out of it. They're going to ask you questions going, no, I'm fine. What's the point of that? You're wasting everybody's time, and they know that. So, switch to another therapist at any point. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL playoffs, we are getting very close to working out who are the final 4 teams, but there is still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, you get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That is $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. So you could put a bet on for Brock Purdy to be Super Bowl MVP. We saw how he dominated against the Packers. So it just makes sense that the greatest quarterback in the NFL has a real shot to win the Super Bowl MVP. But it doesn't even matter if that doesn't come to fruition because you just get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And you can check out their parlays. They've got a parlay hub, which unbelievably coincidentally contains a lot of parlays where you can create them, but you can also see other people's, and they flash those parlays to you, and you have a look and you go, oh, this looks pretty nice, and then you can jump on, and you can jump on the parlay, and you can jump it into your parlay, and you can even parlay your parlay on top of their parlay, and then, who doesn't love a super mega parlay, because that exists as a real thing too. FanDuel.com/lockedon, make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, let's, what are we going to look at here? We've done most drop players. Let's look at the hot players. Shout out to Kelly Oubre, who of course was in the most drop, hot players, as I showed Kevin Huerter. All right, let's actually talk about who the hot players are. These are guys top 100 over the last week, and Vanderpants is on there. He had 2 absolute monsters. He also had 2 really big games, but I don't trust it for a single second. He should have been dropped after Thursday, after he went sick, because there was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday where he doesn't play. Now, when he is hot, he's totally reasonable to stream. You get points, you get threes, and Mike Brown pumps the minutes into him. And the other thing that's really interesting to note is the other options are shitful. Chris Duarte is terrible. Davion Mitchell, also useless. Keon Ellis, well, he flashed some things, but he's not really playing. The only other guy there is Malik Monk. I don't dislike having Huerter on your team as a stream, but he was a very clear drop after that big game Thursday. You can go back and add him now if you want. Alec Burks is on this list too. He's been balling. And until Cade Cunningham comes back, I believe that Burks is a guy you have in a 12-team league ahead of even Killian Hayes. Got Gary Trent on this list, who has somehow been a top 100 player. I don't really fully believe in him. He is very much in the Tim Hardaway, Kevin Huerter, Leaky Beasley group of guys where they can hit threes, they can get points, they're inconsistent in doing it, and there's just no long-term absolute guaranteed value in that happening continually. Brown's minutes were down last game and Trent's pushed up, which is a little confusing considering the way the game before went, but I don't think that he's a must-roster guy. Sam Merrill, actually top 100 as well, same as George Niang, 2 guys who have had some really red-hot runs this week over for the Cavs. We're not looking at Niang or Merrill as any sort of 12-team league players, but I think including them on this list is fine because, A, they are in the top 100, so that makes sense. But it's also to indicate just how you can get random contributions from random guys at certain points. And when you're looking for a points and 3 stream, sometimes it just pays off. And having that flexibility to try guys in, like if you had have tried to add Sam Merrill or streamed in George Niang on the right days this week, and it worked out pretty well. Doesn't always work that way, but guys can pop up and have big weeks really at any point. And a lot of it is opportunity and what you're looking for. And with all the players out in Cleveland and Struce not being good, these guys are stepping up. The other guy that's worth mentioning here is Ayo Dosunmu, who is top 100 over the last week. He used to be a terrible per minute fantasy producer. He's not terrible now. He is better. I wouldn't say he's good. But with the absence of Zach LaVine, he's got an opportunity to play 30 minutes a night. And that might be enough, definitely in 14-team leagues, to have a crack. And even in 12s, I'm moving towards, is it him or Pat Williams? I think it probably still is Pat, but Dosunmu is playing much, much better at the moment. Pat continues to, if you want a less annoying experience, then don't roster Pat Williams, go with Dosunmu. But there is an opportunity here for him to do something a little bit different to what we've seen in the past. He is playing better, and that's awesome. Injury replacement players. In New York, we had an injury which could be frustrating, and that is the big fella, the stubby, Isaiah Hartenstein, because he left that last game with an ankle issue. Now, they said ankle soreness, and then old mate, who has unbelievable, brilliant communication with the front office, absolutely on page with everything they do. They work. It's like a perfectly in sync machine. It's like a Swiss watch. That is the level of precision that the coach and the front office and the PR department of the New York Knicks have. They're perfect, just absolutely in sync with everything. Tom Thibodeau came out and said Isaiah Hartenstein sprained his ankle. And then straight away, the Knicks PR was like, absolutely no, he did not. He has a sore ankle. Tom, what are you talking about? So I don't know what to believe. Are the Knicks lying? Possibly. Is Tom Thibodeau misinformed? Possibly. Is he not on the same page with the front office? 100%. So I don't know what to make of it, right? But the Knicks came out and said sore. Thibodeau said sprained, and the Knicks said, Tom, you're wrong. It's sore. What does it mean? Who knows? Who knows? But we will find out. But yeah, he was on that picture. And as I realized, I'm looking at the list and the name of the replacement is at the bottom of this list. But we'll just go bottoms up, giggity, because that's what we want to look at here. Precious Achiuwa. Is Precious Achiuwa good? Absolutely not. Someone said, this is the thing that's wild to me. I made a flippant comment last week, side note, about Precious Achiuwa. I said, if you want to laugh, go and watch some of his highlights. And I probably should have said highlights, because there were plenty of like clip compilations of Precious Achiuwa as a time as a Nick with those, what the hell is the name of that song? I think it's, anyway, I don't know, because I don't know. I think it's a Jay-Z song. I don't know. You know the sort of clips I mean. And it was him like laying on the ground, just chucking the ball in the air for turnovers, missing point-blank layups. He's really bad. Ask any Raptors fan, he's really bad. Ask the Knicks fans who pay attention, he's actually quite bad. But then someone wrote back, man, I went and watched those Precious Achiuwa highlights. He looks really good. It's like, oh no. Because you can, if you actually show a proper highlight clip, you can pretty much make anybody look good. The thing is that he's not. But if Hartenstein is out, Achiuwa had a double-double last game. Now, he can be really bad with his field goals. One of the worst efficiency big men in the NBA. Really bad with free throws. He doesn't really get much defensive stats. He never passes. He's very hit or miss. But he can rack up the counting stats. He can rack up the points and he can rack up the rebounds. Not that any Tom Thibodeau center usually gets any usage. But if it's between him and Jericho Sims, well, I'm going to take Precious Achiuwa. But I don't feel really good about it, and I bloody hope that Hartenstein just doesn't miss any time. I got Pat Williams on this list. I just talked about him already with the Dosunmu discussion. I got Jonte Porter here, who is a low-volume scorer, much like a Nick Batum, honestly, but just gets some rebounds, hits a three, gets some assists, gets a steal, gets a block. It's enough to be a 14-team league guy while Yucca Poeltl is out. Cam Whitmore. I waited a little bit of time to talk about Whitmore here. I talked about Jalen Green earlier. Rockets reporters are done. Now, there's a lot of Rockets reporters who've been very big on Jalen Green. I still see the star upside, but even those guys now are like, yeah, like it's done. Like Whitmore's better than him, and they need to make a change in that starting lineup, and Whitmore needs to play 30 minutes. Now, I am absolutely not convinced in the slightest that that is going to happen. I don't think that NBA coaches are usually very, very slow to make that move. But we are seeing that Green is pushing down, and Whitmore was great again last game. This is a flyer situation, especially for today. No Jabari Smith, no Tari Eason, Van Vliet's out. Whitmore's going to have a real chance. I am absolutely in on grabbing him for today, and then we see where we go with that. But the Rockets reporters are like, no, it's done. Like, this guy is clearly, Cam Whitmore, better than Jalen Green and needs to play. Take that for whatever you want. For the Blazers, I got Malcolm Brogdon on this list. Brogdon has surged again because Sharp is out, Scoot got injured, and Simons missed the last game. I don't know how that all works when everyone returns, but I don't care. Let's just run with Brogdon for now. I got Vince Williams on this list just because he missed some of my roster percentage cutoffs for some of the earlier segments, and I just wanted to tell you that he's replacing guys. He's not going anywhere. He's a must-roster player. Just wanted to throw that in. And then Achiuwa, the legend that we already spoke about. And let's wrap this big boy up by talking about some other names that are important for us to pay attention to. And the man that was on that slide transition is Jordan Hawkins. Now, I don't know that Hawkins is going to be able to find 30 minutes a night, which is probably what he needs to be a 12-team league guy, but some very curious things have happened with the Pelicans. Over the last 2 to 3 games, Herb Jones and Trey Murphy have cut down to 23 minutes a night, and Jordan Hawkins has pushed up to 21 or 23, and Jose Alvarado is out of the rotation. You go, that's very curious. What do you do with Herb and Trey? I think that they can be dropped in a lot of different situations. If that's what they're going to do, and that is trending towards that direction. So first of all, Alvarado's out, and Hawkins replaces him, and then Hawkins pushes up into minutes, and both Trey and Herb lose out. And then you see the note pushed out, the rumor pushed out that the Pelicans are open to trading Herb Jones, which makes you go, Are they actually just going all in here on Jordan Hawkins as that guy? And I'm not sure that that's true, but having shooting next to Zion, and even next to Ingram, who's not a willing three-point shooter either, and Valanciunas, is really important. And maybe they just don't fully trust Trey. I don't know. But it's something that's interesting. Just all of that confluence of events, the removal of Alvarado out of the rotation, the reduction in minutes of Herb and Trey, the leak of the Herb Jones trade stuff, all coming within the space of 5 days, is very interesting. I've got a couple of Thompsons there. Ausar and Amen. Now, Ausar played good minutes last game. There was no Isaiah Stewart in that one. They would be pretty dumb, but they are the Pistons. They'd be pretty dumb to push him back to those low minutes, but they were pretty dumb to do it the first time, so why can we rule that out? I'd have no problem adding Ausar Thompson and just seeing what happens here. But they could very easily go back and play Bojan and play Stewart and play 15 minutes of Ausar Thompson so Kevin Knox can run around and do whatever it is that he does. But I've got no problem with adding Ausar Thompson. The other one is Amen Thompson. And we talked about Cam Whitmore. Amen Thompson's better than Jalen Green as well. His defensive ability was on very much show last game. There's no Fred VanVleet for them again today on Sunday, so that's something to watch. I don't think Amen is going to have this big run rest of season, but he's just someone to watch. If they decide to really mix things up, Amen is starting to flash some stuff, and it is worth watching. I've got Caleb Martin on that list. The Heat continue to be banged up with Jaime Jaquez out and Nikola Jovic being Nikola Jovic and Kyle Lowry reduction in playing time and production. Martin's more of a 14-team league guy, but he is available and he's worth talking about. And then I've got Bud Hield. Just in case Bud Hield is sitting on a waiver wire, he should not be. He is starting between Siakam and Halliburton. He's probably going to play 30 minutes a night. He's a better player than Andrew Nembhard. He's a better player than Benedict Mathurin. And I don't think they're going to trade him anymore. So Hield is back in that mix to me. And the last name is with the Pelicans again, and that is Larry Nance, who's been dropped in a lot of spots, weirdly enough. I think he's a must-roster 14-team league player. He probably should be on a 12-team roster, or at very least in the stream discussions as he cuts into Jonas Valanciunas' minutes. And that, guys, is the end of the Waiver Wire show. Don't forget, if you are here, go and hit all of the buttons, the subscribe, the bell, the thumb up. Leave your comments down below. On audio, leave reviews and tell your friends about it as well. And don't forget the live trade deadline show. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.